my lovely sewing friends, my name is Catherine and I'd like to welcome you to my YouTube channel Serenity Sews. I am suffering a little bit today from a bit of hay fever again, so do excuse me if my nose is itchy or I sound a bit croaky, but I really wanted to get this video done, so I am all prepared. Just as I say, I might have an itchy nose or eyes. So first things first, I thought I'd tell you what I'm wearing. This is the Nina Lee Mayfair dress and it's in a beautiful jersey viscose that I got from Andrea, our Beyond the Pink Door, sometime last year I think, and I actually made this last year. This is the pattern. It was a freebie in one of the sewing magazines, Simply Sewing. I made a size 14 and actually made a huge mistake with this dress in that I cut the front in two pieces and I shouldn't have done. It should have been on the fold. Anyway, the fabric is so busy that I thought, you know what, no one's going to notice it, only me, so I wear it. And actually I love this dress. It's very comfortable and it's a really forgiving style, as you've got some elastic gathers just at the front and you've got a tie belt with it too. And mine is this version. And apart from my own mistake, I highly recommend this pattern. So today we are continuing with my A to Z of sewing skills, and this week we are on the letter D, which is D for darts. And you would think darts are very straightforward, very simple, but in actual fact darts are a technical nightmare sometimes, but also a way of taking a piece of fabric that is literally flat and making it into a 3D garment which fits the body. Now with jersey, mostly darts aren't necessary because of the stretch in the fabric and it can mold to your shape. But with a piece of woven fabric like this, this has to be constructed in a way to fit you. So a few notes at the bottom. If I'm looking down, that's what I'm checking on. I love this. I found this this remark, which is darts are a dressmaker's punctuation mark. And I think that's exactly what they are, that we use them to provide shaping and curves to an otherwise flat and straight piece of fabric. It's mostly used actually in women's clothing, and you can understand that because we have breasts, we have curves, or rather used to have curves, and we need to mould and shape the fabric to fit our size, but also our dimensions, because we all have different dimensions. We all may say use a 38 bust, but actually we can have a different size cup, or we can be broader at the back and less so in the front. So there are lots of intricacies to making a garment fit you, and providing darts or using darts is just one of those ways. So the common areas where we use darts are the shoulder, the elbow, the bust, the waist, and sometimes lower toward the hip. So I'm going to go through the different kinds of darts that there are out there, and then I'm going to demonstrate to you a few of the samples that I've made. So a standard dart is made with a wider area on one side disappearing to nothing. So let me show you on my block here. As you can see there, you've got a wider area, and then the point of the dart, which is near to the breast point, actually is where it disappears. So you've got a gradient there. So looking at my samples here, as you can see, I've got some calico that I've used on a mock-up of a shaped bodice. So this is the dart that I've already done. You see that? And it disappears to nothing. So when you put it where it should be, the point of the dart actually should rest on the apex of the breast there, just there. And that means that you've got the shaping in the correct place. So to do a straightforward bust dart, or even on a skirt where you're going to put in a dart disappearing to nothing towards the tummy, or the back where it disappears towards the bottom, what we do is we mark it on our fabric. I like to draw them like so. So if you were, hope you can see that green, if you were drawing it flat, that's what it would look like. So then when I come to construct the dart, I match up the colour on one side to the other, and somewhere I've got a pin, and then I push through that side there and come through, sorry, I'm trying to miss my finger here, come through the other side there, yeah, and then that is the widest point of the dart. And so you've got a very accurate dart in place there. Now, most patterns and most books on darts will tell you to start from the widest point and do a backwards, and then forwards, so that you're securing it there. And then for you to work your way to the point of the dart or the apex, and then do very similar, which is backwards, forwards, leave a strand so that you can tie your knot off. And I always used to do it that way, but actually there are two ways now that I've discovered give me a better finish. And one is to make my way up to the apex of the dart there, and then to actually follow the crease of the dart down for about 1 inch, and then cut off my thread, tie it off there. Now what that does is it generally doesn't leave a pucker over where the apex is. So that's one way of securing and finishing a straightforward dart. Now another way, and I was researching this some time ago actually, I came across another method, and I really like that, which is you actually start from the apex and you work your way back down to the end, which is the widest point of the dart. And I found that gave me a very clean finish. The way, obviously, to finish your darts once you have sewn them is to press them, and I press mine over my tailor's ham so that I maintain the shape. So first of all, one side, then the other, and then you always press your dart down towards the waist, never up, down. And of course then, once I press the underside, I will press the overside or the top here, and you should be able to see that the apex of the dart is quite clean. Okay, so there's a few tips for you on standard or basic darts. The next type of dart I want to go into is a French dart, or some people call this a European dart. In fact, the French used to call it an English dart. So it depends where you live and what you're familiar with. A French dart starts much lower down, so it's not going to go across that way. It's going to use a longer and more, I would say, vertical kind of dart. Can you see that? So that dart itself measures about 10 inches. I'm not sure what that is in centimetres. I'm afraid I'm still imperial. So from the front, it looks like so, and it is quite a clean finish, and some quite fitted garments and many couture-esque type of garments will use a French dart. It kind of merges a waist dart and a bust dart, so you don't have two sets of darts on the bodice itself. Okay, so that's a French dart. Then there's another kind of dart, not frequently used, but it's called a curved dart, and a curved dart is typically found on a skirt or even trousers, so it really curves around to give that softer shaping to a pair of trousers, for instance. The other dart that you might be more familiar with is the double-ended dart. Some people call this a fisheye dart, and that's because of the shaping. It literally looks like so. So this takes in quite a long part of the garment. So this, as you can see, is measuring about 15 inches there. And what this does, and where you'll see this, is typically in the back of a dress. So it gives you that nice graded shaping on the back. Generally, if it's used on the front, you'll see the apex of the dart on the breast there, with no hip separate dart, because it's incorporated into this long double-ended dart, which, as I say, if you've got say for instance a shift dress and you want to bring some shaping to that, this is the kind of dart that would most commonly be used. You can do darts on jersey fabric, and you can use your overlocker to do that. To be honest, there are not many jersey garments that I've ever put a dart into, so it's not a common, it's not a common thing that you would be asked to do, but just to say that it can be part of construction for a jersey garment. If, as often you'll see, you want to add some ease but not necessarily that much shaping, you might be doing a tuck or a loose pleat, something like that, and that gives a little bit extra ease into your garment, but doesn't necessarily fit close to the body, which a garment with a dart in would do. So having some additional movement in the fabric adds to the ease of the garment. And for instance, something like a flowy blouse may have a tuck on either side of the bodice, and that just does away really with having to put a dart into it. So bringing us on to ease, this is where you actually do take out a dart and you add in some additional movement by either a tuck, gathering. There's an awful lot of shirring around at the moment in garments, and of course there's no need at all to do darts in those kind of garments, because the gathering is giving you the room that you need. So there are 2 points of a dart, and I think I've already mentioned these words before. Well, the first is the apex, which is the top of the dart there, and that goes out to the wider point, which is known as the leg of the dart. So apex, leg. Interestingly, when I was looking into this, I looked in my trusty old couture sewing book by Claire Schaefer, and what I found was that in couture sewing, darts are rarely used, because what they do is mould and drape. And if you mould and drape, you cut the specific piece of the garment to fit that part of the body and then mould it into the rest of the fabric. So that's a kind of tip I learned, actually, that in couture sewing they rarely use them. One of the other things I wanted to say, which is when you are pressing your darts, as we mentioned before, you press them down. However, if you are doing, if you are doing a double side to the dart, so on the left and the back, on the right on the back, you will always press your dart towards the back. Don't ask me why, it just is the fact that you press your darts to the back, just the same as you press them down to the waist on a bust dart. Right, I now have some bits and pieces to share with you. I'm going to put this on the video at the end, but this gives you a whole range of darting positions that you might be getting a better fit with if you moved your dart. So have a look at that. This is probably an easier demonstration of how you might move a dart. Not only that, you can increase darts or decrease darts just to make sure you get the fit that you want rather than the fit the pattern is giving you. So just by following those lines would give you lots of options about how you can better fit the garment to you. Now, I have here, this is a quarter size block. So we were talking last night in our Zoom, some sewing pals. We were chatting about how if you've got gaping at the neck, you do away with that. And Andrea, who hosts it, said you pinch a wee bit in the neckline so that it disappears away. Now, when you do that on paper, obviously, when you cut your garment, that has taken into account your own personal shaping and body type. So it's always worthwhile, if you've never used that pattern before, making up a practice one. Now, what I do is I buy these cheap paper tablecloths. They're a little bit more robust than tissue paper, and I'll cut out and either pin or just quickly tack on my sewing machine the top, because I can see then how that fits me, and I can make the adjustments on the paper and use that then to transfer onto the tissue. So having something like this where you can play with it to get a better shape is a really good way of getting to know your body contours. Now, one of the commonest things to do with dart is that when you try the garment on, actually the dart's not ending in the right place, or in fact it may be too high. I find very often that it's too low. So an easy way to do that is to take your pattern and to cut out the dart as it is. Okay, so then I would move it to where I'm happy with. Okay, oh, I'm not doing well here, sorry about this. Right, so there's a shape, and I would mark on the paper where I want the dart to be. So I want to move it up. Okay, so in doing that, of course it leaves me with a gap. So once I'm happy with the position of the dart, then I would fill in the gap with some tissue paper, or in this case printer paper. If I do it on my PDF patterns, that's kind of what I do, so that I've cut the dart out and I'm moving it up and down to reflect a better position for me and my garment. So that is moving darts. And the other brilliant thing you can do with darts is you can take a dart out. So say, for instance, I wanted to increase round my tummy. What I would do is remove the breast dart and increase my waist dart. And what that does is transfers the inches from the breast dart into the waist, and that then gives you a unique fitting for your body and the style of the garment that you're wanting to make. So this is a whole learning curve, really, about using darts in an experimental way to ensure that the fitting that you've got on that garment fits your body and not the pattern as it comes. So I hope you found that useful. I'm sorry it's taken a while to come, but I'm not going to apologise anymore, because life is life and things get in the way. I hope that you are enjoying these informative videos on sewing skills and techniques. The next one is E, and someone's already guessed what E is, and E obviously is for ease, and within ease, of course, is elastic. So I'm going to be talking about those two things. So that one will come in 2 weeks' time. Next week, I shall be showing you what I've made over the last month or so. And it's been a bit slow because, as I mentioned in my last video, I've had problems with my hands. However, I have had a little bit of ease over the last couple of weeks, so that's improving and the sewing is happening. Please give me a thumbs up if you've enjoyed this video, and if you know a friend who'd like to watch and learn a little bit, please do pass on my details for Serenity Sews. So my lovely friends, I'm going to say bye for now, and of course I'll ask you to be happy, to keep sewing, and to be kind, not only to other people but to yourself. Bye for now, and I'll see you soon.